Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. So in this today video we will discuss about the user and group management. Basically on this video, user and group management, I have already given you the practical, but there is a requirement from many students. They wanted the theoretical part as well, so I have prepared the theory part. So let's start. And before start, guys, please subscribe to my channel if you have not done so, and press the bell icon and like button to make it most like video. So let's start. So these are the topics we are going to cover: users, group, super user access, local user account, and group related account, and user password. So first of all, we should know what are users and what are groups. Basically, users is very helpful whenever you want to run any specific process, and whatever the process and file and directories are held and controlled by specific user. Okay, so every process runs with a particular user, and every files and directory has specific user permissions, so that that particular user only can only can control this process as well as user files and directories. Okay, so let's say if you want to see user information, how you can see? So for this, what you need to do, id command. If you are in that particular user account, just press id. So it will give you in what is a user id, what's a name, what GUID, what's a group name, which part it's included, and what is the context type it is using. Okay, so but if you are at another group and you want to check another user group, so what you have to do here, instead of id, you have to give id space username. Let's say username student, so id space student, so it will give student related information. Okay, if you want to check for wheel group, so id space wheel. Okay, let's move to the next slide. So if you want to see the file and directories, this file and directory is controlled by which user, which group, how you can do ls space -l and the file system name. So you can see it's a user and its group. D is for directory, read, write, execute, read, write, execute, read, write, execute. Basically all these informations I have already explained in my previous video, which is file permissions. And if you want, you can refer the link inside the description box. Okay, I will paste it there. And so this part is related to user, this part is related to group, this part is related to user, and this is related to group. Okay, so you can see specific all these files or folders, whatever it is, it's either controlled by specific users. So you can see users and group. Okay, so to view the process information, if you want to view any specific process of a particular user, how you can do, you need to run this command ps and au. A for all, u means user related, so it will give you all user related, whatever user log into your system. Okay, and if you want to see the specific process, then ps space au and username, or pipe grab that particular username, so you can get that particular username related process. So you can see root student, so it's running this particular process. Okay, let's move to the next slide. So these are the fields of etc passwd files. Guys, this detailed explanations of this field I have already discussed and explained in my practical video. So the practical video link I will give you in the description box. You can go and you can check that particular fields, how you can how it describe and how you can apply these fields. Okay, but here I will give the short information about it. First of all, we have 7 fields: 1 2 3 4 5 6 7. So first field is for the username. Okay, this is you want to give any agency specific user naming convention, that is also you can follow. Next is password. Password, basically you can see X Previously, in previous old operating system, it was kept as a encrypted password, but now it's not like this. Password field will be pointed as X, it will be as X, and it will, because it will point to the etc shadow file. So password information mainly will be in etc shadow file. Etc passwd file will only contain X, which is mean you can take the reference from the etc shadow file. What is the password, what is the encrypted format, what is the hash algorithm we are using. Next, UID. Each user has its own UID. Okay, GUID, primary group ID. So this is basically the primary group ID. Whenever you create user, one default primary group similar like username also created. Okay, let's say you create a user student, then student group also will be created by default. Next is GCOS. You can take this as a comment. Basically, whatever you want to mention, username or easy recognition. Let's say student, so you can mention training student, similar like this. So you can recognize, oh, this student is on training, and that's why his or her account is there. Next is home directory. Whenever you create user should have their home directory so that they can do specific task, and whatever task they do, it will be kept under their user home directory. Okay, either you can define, or by default it will take the information from etc login /etc/login.def file. So this is shell basically provide the interaction for the user to type the command and send it to the system. Basically this is interface for the user and system. Okay, so these are the most important field which is very important for the interview purpose as well. So make sure if you are going for interview, you need to learn these 7 fields. Next, groups, primary groups and supplementary groups. Basically, what are the groups? Groups have name. Let's say wheel group, and it also has specific ID. Let's say wheel group ID is maybe 501, something like this. Local group defines in etc, the configuration file is /etc/group, and all primary groups will be in GUID field, this field. Okay, so here primary group will be defined for the particular user. Primary groups on files created by user. So whenever you create any files, let's say we have this file example. So let's say this postconf file is created by student1, so this will be student1 user ID and student1 group. Okay, by default it will come. Next, primary groups. And for the supplementary group, you can for one specific group we have primary group is must important, but you can have supplementary group, or you cannot also have the supplementary group. User can be part of many supplementary groups. So these 3 options are applicable. Either it can be one, or it can be none, or it can be many. Okay, so if you see the etc group file format like this, first group name will be there, then the password of the group name, then what is the GUID, and then last is list of users. Maybe let's say student 1, student 2, student 3, student 4. So all the student 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is a part of this group name. Okay, so these are 4 fields: 1 field, 2 field, 3 field, and 4th field. So these are the 4th field. 4th field contain number of list of users. Supplementary group provide access permissions to files and other resources. Supplementary group. So using this also you can control the file permissions and directory permissions. Okay, let's move to the next step. Super user. I think everybody aware about it. Root is a super user in Linux operating system. It's similar like administrator. Let's say in Windows operating system we had administrator. It can do any of the tasks. It can do shut down the system. It can control the resources. It can manage a process. Everything it can do. Similar like in Linux operating system we have root user which have privileges access. Privileges access is a term which used to represent the user which have all the access, special permissions to do any of the task on the system. So it can override normal privileges, manage and administer system. So first of all, you should not allow inside the system to log in to root directly. Okay, it's not recommended at all. So what you have to do, first you need to log in through one of the user. Okay, so let's say login as, this is line, login as non-root user, and use mechanism like you can use switch, you can use sudo, or these are the things you can use to switch to login or to gain the access of a root account, or run all the commands similar as root account. So these are the few things you can do, but it is not recommended to log inside the system directly and remotely to the root account. So try not to do this one. This is maybe depends on your company policy. If you log in as root, entire desktop environment unnecessarily runs with admin privileges. So if you are login as root and want to do specific tasks, for specific tasks you are really not required to gain access as a root. You can do any other method, or either you can assign sudo permissions, you can do switching, you can do few more things. Okay, but it's not necessary every time to have a root access. And you can see here, fixed devices can be controlled by root, but removable devices can be controlled by users. So if root account compromised, that means if some unauthorized person get the root account access, he can do anything. He can run any of the command, he can destroy the system, he can get the system access, and he can the data may be leak out. So let's move to the next. So these are important topic. You must know how you are controlling root, or how the authorized person using the root account. Okay, next slide. Switching user and run command as a root. So we have two methods. Let's say you are login as student, and then you are switching from student to root. What you have to do, su space hyphen. So by default it will go to the root account, and it will ask for the password. Which password? Root password. Okay, so for login into the root account from any of the user, you must know what is the root password, otherwise you cannot do. Okay, so these are, and one more method, etc sudos. So etc sudo, if you are running any specific command using sudo command, then you can run it if you have authority, or you are part of a wheel group or specific group where sudo permissions are applied. Okay, so these are the two things when you can gain access. Either you switch to the root, or use sudo's configurations file to allow your specific user to work as to run command as a root. Now using sudo from wheel group. So let's say this is example is given. Let's say you have etc sudo's file and wheel group having access. Percentage wheel all, meaning this wheel group have all the permissions to run as a administrator. So whoever user inside this wheel group can run any of the command using sudo. So let's say if you want to run reboot using student 1 account, just put sudo reboot, and it will ask for the root. It will ask for the your password, that means student password, not the root password. Okay, so this is one of the facility or the configurations you can use when you are inside the wheel group, and you can run all the command as a root. Local user account, creating user with user add. So this practical also I have shown you in very detail, but theoretical part we are covering here. So we have field etc passwd. So the moment you create user add and username, let's say user add student, so it will create a user. Okay, and does not set a password. It does not set the password, or and user cannot log in until password is set. So let's say you want to you want to log in through student account, what you have to do is set the password for the student first. Passwd space student, then it will ask for the password, then re-enter the password, then password will be set, then only you can log in, otherwise you cannot log in. Okay, and let's say if you don't mention any of the parameters, the 7 fields, if you don't mention, then what you have to do, it will take default. Let's say you don't mention UID, so it will take from this one, etc slash login dot def. So it will take the available, let's say specific range is mentioned, so it will take the first available digit from the UID. Okay, so value in etc login.def are used only when creating a new user. Okay, so if you are not mentioning any of the parameters, you are just running command user add space username, then comments information, then UID information, GUID information, or home directory information, everything it will take from this file, etc slash login.def file. Okay, so these are the parameters that we can use when running the user mode command. Let's say you have already created a user, you want to change the existing user UID, existing user GUID, supplementary group, you want to change the comments, you want to change the home directory shell, so all this you can do. Okay, so say for comments you want to change maybe name, or from student 1 want to mention his or her name, student Tony something, and you want to change group, okay, the group from finance to HR change. So similar like this you can do all things. Supplementary group, you can add that particular user into more supplementary groups. You can change the directory, maybe slash home to slash student, it changed to export home student. You can move the home directory from one location to another location, and you can mention the shell from new user, from bin bash user to no login. You can log the user whenever any user go out of the organization or resign, and you can unlock it if any user coming back from his or her leaves. Okay, so these are the specific options that you can use inside the user mode, and user mode is to edit the existing user configuration. Okay, so deleting a user is very simple. It delete the user from etc passwd. For that you have to run command user del username. Okay, if you are not mentioning the option R, what it will do, it don't delete the user home directory. If you mentioning -R, it will delete the user home directory. Okay, so how the user, whenever we run the command user add, how it's run, what it will do, user add, when you run the command user add space username, it will take the UID available from the etc slash defs configuration file, and it will take the available range. Okay, so by this way UID assigned to a new user. Okay, let's move to the next slides. Display user information. So for display user information, how you can do, for display user information, basically UID, GUID, all information will be there. So you can run the command ID. So I think it's not there, but initially I have shown you. So you can run the command ID space username, it will give all UID, GUID, context type, everything it will give. And if you want to set the password, what you have to do, you have to mention passwd student, and it will ask for the changing password for the student 1. Okay, if you are doing using root, it won't ask for the current password, but if you are doing specific user which is not root user, then it will ask for the current password, then it will allow you to set the new password. But in case of root, it won't ask, it directly will change the password. Okay, changing password for this one, student, new password this, old password this, retype the password, So all set, then password set, and at least as per the configuration it must be 8 character with the different combinations, but it depends on your organization policy. It may be 8, 10, 12 or whatever. Okay, so let's move to the next slide. UID range. We have a specific range. 0 definitely is for the root account, 1 to 2 for the static accounts which is required by the system, and 2019 to 99999 is for the dynamical user. It may be, for example, mail, TCP dump, or any other user which you install manually. So for that particular user it will be assigned. And 1000 plus ID always available for the manual user, whatever you create manually. Okay, so how, whenever we run the command user add space username, how it will take, it will check this etc login dev files, and manual user always take entry from the 1000 plus, then whatever, let's say 1001, 2, 3, 4 already used, the next available is 1005, then it will take the 1005 entry and it will assign to the newly created user. So example is given here. Okay, this is GID. So GID also mentioned in etc login dev. So what it will do, let's say, see, sudo is also mentioned. Using this, if you run using the simple user without sudo, you won't be able to run this command. But if you are running using sudo and you are part of a wheel group, you can run this sudo configuration. Sudo also I have very well explained in my one of the practical labs. So guys, you can go and try that practical. That's very useful, and after that you definitely you will able to do the sudo configurations in your environment as well as. So how, come back to the point, how he have done sudo group add space -g 5000. So if you want to mention manually also can possible. I mean, you specifically want to define user group ID, so that's a G and 5000. So any of the -G options you will mention ID, it will take. Next, modifying group with the group mode. To change a group name to GID mapping, what you need to do, if you want to change a name of a group, so group mode, because you have already user called app users, you want to change your Java app, so you can do -n option. If you want to specifically mention the GUID, that is also you can do, and user del is for the deleting the that particular group account. Next, managing supplementary group. Supplementary group, how you can do, user mode space -g. If you want to make student part of any of the, maybe student is part of a HR group, you can make it. Small g is primary group, so student primary group is HR, let's say, for example. And now student is also part of a maybe finance department, so what you have to do, you have to mention -a capital G. So in that case, what it will do, it will take your secondary group finance. If you don't mention -a, it will take secondary group as whatever was previously defined, or if you have not defined, it will take the first secondary name finance. Okay, so HR will be student HR will be your first name, first department, and student finance will be secondary department. Let's say you want to mention one more, production. So production finance, if you mention using -a capital G, then it will be part of finance as well as production. Okay, if you don't mention this, it will remove that specific user from one supplementary group and it will add into the another supplementary group. At a one time you cannot do if you don't mention -a option. So if you want to make more than one supplementary group, what you have to do, you have to mention -a capital G. Okay, let's move to the next slide. User password. So password policy, how it's work, it is always mentioned is etc passwd is the second field, but it will take from the etc shadow file all the encrypted password, the algorithm applied, everything. And how it's work, let's say user login into the system, it's enter the password, that password will be unencrypted, it's not encrypted. So then it will apply the algorithm, and it will check against the etc shadow file whether the particular user account password is there or not there. If it is there and matching, then it allow the system to user to log inside the system. If it don't match, definitely it fail. So by that's a process how it's the user login into the system after applying the password. Okay, so 2 4 6 8 9, so 9 fields are there. And to best explain this part, I will show you one diagram, and I will come back to these slides again. So you can say this is a time, okay, this is a minimum when user cannot change its password, okay, minimum days, and this is maximum, and this is expiry line. So when the maximum number of days when user can change its password, okay, and this is the warning. Let's say it's 90 days here, maybe after 3 months 90 days. So let's say we set the warning date 7. So what it will do, after the before the 7 days, it will start giving you warning, hey, you need to change your password is going to expire within 7 days. So like similar warning you will get, and you can change your password within this time range. If you don't change your password will expire, but still it will allow you to log in inside. Okay, how you still have inactive days. If you inside your environment it is set, let's say 7 days. So even though 90 days completed, but still you have 7 days when you can use your expired password to change your account password. If you still don't do, your account will be your password will be your account will be deactivate, and your password will be expire. Okay, now let's move to the this is inactive days. And let's say you have 90 days, and after the 90 days you still have 7 days. For example, within the 7 days, if you don't change your password, you still can use expired password. If you don't use your expired password to change to the new password, then your password will be expired and your account will be inactive. Already it's expired there, but still you can use beyond this mention time, and if you don't mention, your account will be expired. Okay, so this is small m, capital M, this is for warning inactive. Let's go back to the previous step. So minimum age, maximum age, warning, inactive, and expiry. Okay, expiry, where it will be here. Let's say you want to make 90 days, so just put from today till 90 days, so it will calculate for you. I mean, you can calculate, and as per the calculation you can set the specific date. Okay, and this is password field. If it is sign of explanation in front of this field, that means your account or your password is locked. If it is locked, you can make it unlock. Okay, last password change date means when you change your last password. Okay, it may be yesterday or day before yesterday, or the moment you change your password, the date will come based on the changing password date. So guys, hope this is very very important. And for this also, password policy, basically this is related to password policy, and I have created very good video. If you want to do any practical, guys, please go and click over the link and do the practical. Once you do the practical, then only your concept will be more clear. This is the theoretical part, maybe you can remember now, but later you might forget until you don't do the practical. So please go and do your practical part first of all. Okay, next, password aging. This is I have already explained. So if you want to calculate day, okay, just date space -d, and it will calculate from today after 45 days. Okay, restricting access, you can lock the account and you can unlock the account. This lock and unlock I have already told you. So if any of the user leave from your organization, you must lock it and you must delete the account. If any user temporarily go, lock it and make the expire date, and if user come back, unlock it and make the set the expiration date. So no login shell. For this also there is a one video which is related to user management and the parameters definitions. So for that also I will give you the link inside the descriptions box, so you can refer and do the practical part. Basically no login shell is some users really don't require to log inside the system to do their task. They don't have any shell, but at the background they keep run the services to be served. Okay, so if you want to mention no login, so what you have to do is S means shell, S means no login. So don't define the shell. So if you don't define, what it will happen, you will try to switch to this account, it won't allow you to log in because currently there is no shell, so it will restrict the account to login. Okay guys, for more videos you can refer to my channel, and this is a link for that particular channel. If you have any questions and query, you can send email to this email ID. And if you really want to do this full course, I have Linux 1 and Linux 2, that means level 1 and level 2 courses. And if you really want to do full courses, please send email to this email ID with your queries. I will give you the complete details about the course, and the trainer who will give experience, really 12 or 15 years of experience, and that's and currently we have discount available. If you and your friends want to do together, you can refer your friend and you can eligible for 50% discount, as well as your friend also can be eligible for the 50% discount. So if you like this video, please share, subscribe to my channel. Okay, and thank you very much. Bye bye.